I awoke, but it wasn't a miracle, nor a sudden enlightenment. It was a silent collapse, an internal crumbling in which I realized for the first time that everything I called real was only a tremendous reflection, a projection of what I believed myself to be. The world, the people, the dramas, the fears, all were part of a vast dream. And for so long, I fought to make that dream make sense. I lived as everyone lives, believing in the weight of time, in the importance of choices, in the pain and joy that came and went like waves, until something broke. And when it broke, it wasn't the world, it was me. The Ma that believed it could control, plan, conquer. It dissolved before a brutal simplicity. None of this is as real as I thought. The world is a fantasy, not in the sense of a fairy tale, but as a projection of the mind. Everything I see is shaped by what I believe I am, and suffering is born right there, in the attachment to the unreal, in the defense of what never existed outside imagination. At first, this revelation terrified me. How can one live knowing that everything is a mental construct? How can one love, work, continue? But slowly I realized that what was dying was not life. It was the illusion that I needed to control it. And in the place of that fear, an unexpected peace arose. Not an ecstatic peace, but a stillness that observes without demanding that anything be different. When I looked around with new eyes, I saw that people were running inside a dream, fighting for pieces of mist, all trying to fix the scenery, without realizing that the scenery changes according to the dreamer. Suffering comes from believing that the scenery is fixed, that there is something out there capable of saving us. I understood that the world didn't need to change. It was my perception that needed to awaken. The mind, so used to fighting, called this denial. So nothing matters, it screamed. But silence replied with something much deeper. Everything matters, but nothing is permanent. That is the beauty of the dream. You can dance within it, without forgetting that you are dreaming. For years, I searched for answers. I read, meditated, questioned, suffered. I wanted to understand what Robert Adams meant when he said, "The world is a projection of the mind." It seemed absurd. But one day, I realized he wasn't speaking of ideas. He was describing an experience. When the mind becomes still, the world dissolves into transparency. You still see it, but it loses its weight. Pain may come, but it doesn't stick. Joy may come, and it too passes. And amidst it all, there is something that does not move, what you truly are. I didn't find this presence. It was always here. What fell away were the layers of story, the belief that I was the character. And when the character disappeared, life continued. Simpler, lighter, more alive than ever. To live in a world of fantasy is not to escape it. It is to realize it was never the enemy. Suffering is not in things themselves, but in the way we touch them with expectation. When I stopped demanding that the world complete me, it became beautiful in its imperfection. The colors grew subtler, the gestures slower, the silences fuller. I learned that suffering is the attempt to fix what was never wrong. We want the dream to obey our will, without realizing that we are both the dream and the dreamer. And as long as we believe ourselves to be the character, we are condemned to suffer from the scripts we ourselves have written. Awakening is simple, but not comfortable. It is to witness the collapse of everything that seemed solid. It is to understand that nothing and no one can truly hurt us, except the thought that we were hurt. It is to see that time, past and future, are only movements within the mind. And when this is seen, the present becomes absolute. Freedom is not in changing life, but in seeing that there is nothing to change. Everything already is what it is, and what is does not suffer. When I speak of a world of fantasy, many think it is a metaphor. It isn't. Observe. You dream at night, and everything feels real until you wake up. The emotions, the pain, the people, it all seems concrete. But upon awakening, you see it was only a creation of the mind. Now look, what if waking life is the same kind of dream? What if the I you think you are is only a character in that dream? I discovered that the only difference between the nightly dream and the waking dream is duration. Both come and go. Both disappear when the dreamer awakens. Awakening is not to understand intellectually. It is to see that the observer is free from all that is observed, to see that thought is not who you are, to see that there is no you separate from the whole. At first, this realization feels lonely, but soon it becomes fullness. When there are no others, there is only presence, silent, luminous, nameless. And then love arises not as emotion, but as recognition. You look at another and see. It is the same consciousness, dreaming different roles. Everything changes in that instant. Fear dissolves because what you are cannot die. Guilt disappears because there is no one who needs forgiveness. And the effort to be someone ceases because the role is over. And, paradoxically, that is when life truly begins. When the dream is seen as a dream, you can play with it. You can laugh at tragedies, love without fear of loss, exist without needing to justify anything. The fantasy continues, but the attachment disappears, and with it, suffering. I no longer seek the end of suffering. It dissolves for lack of one who suffers. The I that carried the weight of the world was only a recurring thought. Without it, the world is not heavy. Pain comes and goes like rain. It refreshes, passes, and the sky remains. The most curious thing is that nothing changed on the outside. People still run, clocks still turn, bodies still age. But there's something that does not age. The consciousness that watches it all. It is untouched, immune to time, to fear, to loss. It is the home that has always been here. So yes, I live in a world of fantasy, but it is the most beautiful of fantasies because now I know it is fantasy. And that simple awareness destroys suffering, because suffering is born from belief in the reality of the dream. When you awaken, the dream may continue, but it no longer binds you. You dance within it, knowing it is only light and shadow. And with every step, every breath, there remains only one silent certainty. Nothing is real. And precisely because of that, everything is sacred.